Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. Now, in this video, I'm going to be chatting about the 7 ways you can level up your finances, whether you're heading into the new year and you want to first start, or it's something you've been really thinking about for ages and you just want to get better with your money. So if that sounds like you, hopefully this video can help you guys. I'm going to share the 7 top tips that have really helped me and kind of easy wins that you can make to level up your finances. So who am I? I am Jodie. I've worked in finance for the last 10 years in London. I'm very lucky to say I own this property. I'm a homeowner as well in London. And I'm just weirdly interested in personal finance and helping people be better with their money. So if that sounds like something that you want to be better at, hopefully this video can help. So let's go. Now, the very first thing that you can do is to look at your direct debits. Now, I recently did this for myself. I looked at all the automatic payments that were going out of my bank, and I realized I was getting charged storage on an Apple phone, an iPhone that I haven't had in about 5 years. And obviously, this is such a waste of money. Now, I'm sure if you look at your direct debits right now, you may have stuff you're paying for that you don't use or that you don't even have anymore, like a phone, maybe even car insurance for a car that you sold. That also happened to me, which is very crazy. So make sure you look at your direct debits. You can easily do this if you log on to your online banking. It will have a list there of everything that's going out every month. And let's say there's even Netflix subscription on there. If you don't use it, just cancel it. And that money that you were putting towards that, let's say you've spent £50 a month on all these random things that you don't use anymore, instead of, spending that £50 just frivolously, you can then save that £50 every month. So you're still spending the same amount of money, but it's going into your future self rather than frivolous stuff you don't use or need. The second way then to level up your finances is to automate your savings. Now, this is an absolute life changer. If you're one of these people who think, hey, I have a decent salary, but at the end of the month, I just have no money left over to save or invest. Well, this is your problem. You need to automate that saving. So every month, set it up, whatever your goal is, let's say £200 to start with if you're very new to savings, and just automate that every month to go into a separate savings account. The thing is, if you leave your money in your current account, you're more tempted to spend it. And we all know that we really try sometimes to do better, but sometimes, you just might see some really cool stuff in a shop, or, you want to eat out with your friends, or you want to go to a cocktail bar, okay? But if you automate your savings every month, at the start of the month, whenever you get paid, okay, and it goes automatically out of your account, you're not even looking at that money, okay? It is in a separate pot elsewhere. So this one honestly is a game changer. And I really recommend that you start today, set up an automatic payment into a separate savings account, and you will thank yourself in the future. The third thing then that you can do to level up your finances is to budget. Now, I have in the pipeline that I'm going to be doing a budget template soon. If that's something that you guys would be interested in, let me know down below. I'm also hopefully going to be launching my website soon as well, which is really exciting. So if you feel like you don't know how to budget, kind of hold on, because I will be doing templates soon for you guys that would hopefully help things. But budgeting doesn't have to be a big scary thing or, very, shocking to the system. You can get budget templates elsewhere. If you just want to get started today, of course, download them from other sites. But if you want to hold off, I will, of course, do a tutorial on this in a video on how to budget your money from scratch if you're very new to budgeting. But the key thing with budgeting is to really understand the money that's coming in every month for yourself and all of the expenses that are going out, and to kind of have little buckets to understand, okay, for food, for example, I don't want to go over £300 for a month. And if you budget that, you'll be a lot more conscious of your spending that you're having on food every month. And it's kind of a psychological thing, but also to kind of set little barriers for yourself so that you can help yourself in the future by saving more of your excess money. So the fourth thing you can do then is to set up an emergency fund for yourself. So like the previous point where you can set up an automatic payment, personally for me, I have a separate account for my emergency fund as to my savings pot. Because for you, you might have a goal to maybe save for a deposit for a house one day, but an emergency fund is something different. It's basically there if you unfortunately, get made redundant, if you unfortunately are too sick to work, then you have this pot of money here that can help you pay your rent and pay for your basic needs. So I always recommend to have at least 3 to 6 months of living expenses in an emergency fund. So what you can do from today is work out how much money do you need every month to cover your basics. And what I mean by that is your needs like your house, your rent or your mortgage, to cover any utility bills, electricity, internet, and to travel to work, if you have a car to get to work or if you are on public transport like myself. Those are your basic needs, and obviously food as well, like groceries. But I'm not talking about, going to a cocktail bar, buying expensive handbags, stuff like that. Those are not needs. Okay. So if, for example, all of your housing and food and transport costs you $2,000 a month, a 3-month emergency fund will be $6,000, and a 6-month emergency fund will be $12,000 of an emergency pot. Yes, it does sound like a lot of money, but as I said, if you are very cautious about where your money is going and to maybe cut back on eating out for a few months, and then you can save the excess into an emergency fund. Honestly, this will alleviate so much stress from yourself. Unfortunately, I've even been in that situation where I got made redundant very surprisingly a few years ago. Our whole department was wiped out. And of course, thank God, I had an emergency fund so that I could pay for my rent at the time. But if I didn't have that, it would have caused so much more stress on top of the emotions that I was already feeling. So do yourself a favor, really understand how much your needs are every month, and to save at least 3 to 6 months of that. So the fifth way you can level up your finances is to look at your debt and start to pay it off, okay? I recently did a video on this, on how to pay off your debt, either the snowball method or the avalanche method. And what a snowball method is you start with your lowest balance. Let's say you have £500 on your credit card to pay off, okay? And then let's say your student loans are £3,000, and let's say your car loan is £10,000, okay? In your snowball method, you would pay off the £300 first, and of course, you'd still pay the minimum payments on your other two debts. Once the £300 has been paid off, cross a line over that, you've done it, then move on to the next balance, okay, of a student loan, which is the next highest balance there, okay? And that way, it's like a psychological way of you starting with a small win and to kind of give you the momentum to pay off all of the debt. The other way is the avalanche method, which works mathematically better, but it's not for the faint-hearted. And basically what you do there is you start with the one that has the highest interest rate first. So let's say your car loan is at 25%, you would pay that first. And let's say your credit card is next, let's say it's 20%, you would pay that next. And then you would pay the last one last. So it's mathematically better because you're going to be paying less interest over time because you're targeting the highest interest first. But of course, have a look at these two. Look at that video that I popped up recently. If you are in severe debt and want to get out of it in the new year, this is what I'd recommend. The sixth thing you can do then to level up your finances is to look at the percentage rate on your savings account. If you currently have a savings account, go into it tonight on your banking app and it will tell you straight away what the interest rate is. I recently did this on, a small savings pot that I have, and I was only getting 1.2% on that, which is pretty crap. If you live in the UK, you can definitely get higher. So I recently moved this into a pot that gives me 4% interest rate. And all I had to do was just move it across. It was like a 10-minute job to set up a new account elsewhere with a better rate. And I have pretty much tripled the interest that I am getting in that scenario. So my challenge for you guys tonight is to look at your banking app and understand what your interest rate is. And if it's really low, to move it over to a high yield savings account. And honestly, it's free money, so why wouldn't you do it? The seventh thing you can do then to level up your finances is to learn to invest. Now, I recently did a video on this, on how to invest step by step. So if you're really curious and don't have a clue, I'd recommend looking at this video and I can talk through it with you as you set up your account. But for me, personally, I only started investing about 3 years ago in my 30s. So if you feel like you're late to the train, don't worry, so was I. Obviously, the younger, the better to get into investing because it compounds over time and you get more, money in your pot. But if you're in your 30s like me and you've just started investing, that's okay too. The sooner you get into it, the better. And honestly, with me, for example, I keep it very simple. All I do is invest in the S&P 500, which is essentially, it tracks the 500 top companies in America. So if those are doing well, like Amazon, Google, things like that, if they're all doing well, then my investments will do well. So for me, I'm diversifying the investment there because it's spread across 500 companies. And also, I set up an automatic payment into my investment account every month. So again, I don't even think about it. It's just set up there and it's growing in the background. So I would really recommend to jump on the train. If you are new to it, you can do it. A lot of people bury their head in the sand when they want to think about their money and their bank account. They just don't even want to look at it. So if you want to look after your future self, I'd really recommend that you do these 7 tips. Because whether you want to maybe retire early, maybe you want kids in the future, or maybe you really want to try and get a property under your belt, if you do these 7 things, I guarantee you'll set yourself up better for the future and you'll be less stressed out. Having things like an emergency pot or a savings pot behind you will alleviate stress when you're in those emotional states of, bad things happening, okay? Everyone is going to have some sort of financial thing happen to them most likely over the next 10 years. Whether it's a surprise pregnancy, whether it's your car breaking down, whether there's a flooding in your house, you're going to need some sort of money there. Let me know what your guys' biggest money fears are down below, and we can chat hopefully down there to try and alleviate some of those money fears, because it's not as scary as you guys think. Thanks for watching. I tend to post 2 videos a week and I'm a pretty new channel here, so feel free to subscribe if you're interested in being better with your money. But until then, guys, I'll talk to you soon. Bye.